Tanse, welcome to APTN National News Daytime. I'm Chris Nashkate. Thanks for joining us. Saskatchewan RCMP have now charged a third person in connection with the quadruple homicide last February in the Kettle Nakoda Nation, or Chegakin, located about an hour east of Regina. On Wednesday, Saskatchewan RCMP Major Crimes and Foul Hills First Nation Police executed a search warrant in a home in the Kettle. A 17-year-old male was arrested. He can't be named due to the Youth Criminal Justice Act. He has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Tracy Hatomini, Sheldon Cusance, Shauna Fay, and Terry Jack. The teen was also charged with attempted murder in connection with a fight with a 5th individual at the crime scene. He made his first court appearance this morning in Regina. 18-year-old Darius Reset and a 15-year-old male were charged with first-degree murder ×4. They were arrested in February of this year. In a statement, Inspector Ashley St. Germain with Saskatchewan RCMP's Major Crimes Branch added, "For the past 10 months, our investigators have kept working to provide answers to the victims' families and to the Kettle Nakoda Nation. After consulting with Crown prosecutors, investigators developed a plan to safely arrest the youth and proceed with charges. This result reflects the commitment of Saskatchewan RCMP officers across the province." Edmonton police say they are on the lookout for an inmate who escaped from a minimum security facility in Edmonton on Tuesday. According to Correctional Services Canada staff at the Buffalo Sage Wellness House, discovered that 46-year-old Charmaine Louis Creer was unaccounted for at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. The Edmonton Police Service have since put out a warrant for Louis Creer's arrest. She is currently serving a 6.5-year sentence for kidnapping, robbery, forcible confinement, assault, and uttering threats. She was also previously involved in the stabbing death of a 19-year-old woman in Musquecheese in 2013. Louis Creer is 5'8", 177 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. She has dimple piercings and multiple tattoos, including a crown on her left arm and skeleton fingers on her left hand. If anyone knows where Charmaine Louis Creer is, you are asked to call police. The 2 northern and remote First Nations that took the Canadian government to court this past spring over housing got the answer they were hoping for on Friday. A federal court ruled in their favor, saying Canada has a legal duty to provide housing to remote reserves. With more, APTN's TR Wheatley joins us now. TR, what can you tell us about this ruling?
Thanks, Creason. The issue of deplorable housing on reserve is a story we've been following at APTN, even before this class action came to be. We've brought hundreds of stories of living conditions on reserve for years, but this class action in particular played out in court in March and April of this year, with the St. Teresa Point Anishinaabe Nation and the Sandy Lake First Nation carrying the weight. And on April 30th, as court was wrapping up, many Anishinaabe people rallied at their downtown Winnipeg sub-office. Some held signs outside, and others sang with their drums inside.
This is a national human rights crisis.
As St. Teresa Point Chief Raymond Flett shared words after sitting in a courtroom for weeks as part of the National First Nations Housing Class Action lawsuit that saw over 100 reserves join in. Justice Paul Favel gave his 123-page decision on December 5th that said homes on reserve are poorly constructed and that many lack running water or sewage systems. Favel reviewed about 1,200 pages of evidence, including hearing from a dozen expert witnesses and a couple dozen people who lived in the poorly constructed homes. While the decision came down on December 5th, leaders from the Anishinaabe Ugamawan are expected to speak at a press conference later today. Of course, APTN News will be there, and I will give you a full report on tonight's newscast, including what some people living on reserve could expect to see come from this. Creason?
That's TR Wheatley reporting live in our Winnipeg studio. Thanks, TR. Chief and Council of a Mi'kmaq Nation have banned Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston and 2 of his cabinet ministers from their lands and from all of their community events. The chief says it has been a long time coming and hopes other Mi'kmaq nations will do the same. APTN video journalist Angel Moore reports.
I think when our safety is attacked and when we're being targeted by the government, I think all communities should be doing the same.
That is Chief Michelle Glasgow at the Sabaganegity Band office after a band council resolution was passed unanimously. It bans 3 Nova Scotia politicians, Premier Tim Houston, Attorney General Scott Armstrong, and Minister of Indigenous Affairs Leah Martin, from the Sabaganegity First Nation and all community events, including the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and the upcoming Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Summer Games. This comes after the provincial government directed police to crack down on cannabis shops that do not operate under provincial regulations. Glasgow says this has left the community on edge.
They're assuming that there's hard drugs being sold out of these shops. They're assuming that it's organized crime. They're just making assumptions. They're assuming that it's a way of human trafficking. They're making assumptions because we're Mi'kmaq, so this is where everything's coming from because we're Mi'kmaq.
But the ban is not just about cannabis. Tensions escalated between the Mi'kmaq and the province last September during a week that included the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation and Mi'kmaq Treaty Day. At the same time, the province passed Bill 127, where anyone blocking forest roads can be fined up to $50,000 and or 6 months in jail. As Mi'kmaq land protectors were camped at Hunter's Mountain, Unama'ki, to protect the forest from companies clear-cutting. Sabaganegity Band Councillor Deanne Sack says the province criminalizes the Mi'kmaq.
We celebrated Treaty Day, Peace and Friendship on October 4th, and these individuals are there shaking hands and smiling. And on the 2nd, the bill is passed. And in this bill, it's very alarming because they penalized our women, our grassroots grandmothers, for protecting. We're the stewards of the land.
In a media statement, the province claims criminalizes Mi'kmaq communities and is disrespectful to MMIWG.
They're our sisters, our aunties, our daughters, our grandmothers, our ancestors. They're not just stats. But when they took these stats and lumped them into the organized crime and saying this is what these dispensaries and First Nations communities are doing, that was terrible.
Glasgow says tensions have always been high with the province due to the community's moderate livelihood fishery. Glasgow says the province continues to disregard Mi'kmaq rights.
Right now, it's being protected. We've always been fighting and struggling through fisheries, and there's always been a conflict. But right now, they're attacking us in every direction. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to stop.
Nakoda says the ban sends a message to the province.
I think the message is loud and clear. By them making their statements, they were declaring war on all Mi'kmaq people, on our First Nations. And by doing that, why would we welcome them here?
If the 3 politicians trespass on Sabaganegity lands, they'll be fined $50,000 each. The provincial government did not respond to APTN News requests for comment about the ban. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Sabaganegity, Mi'kmaq Nation.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how to continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. A First Nation in northern Saskatchewan is in support of a proposed uranium mine. That story when we come back. Welcome back. For individuals experiencing homelessness in the north, the contributing factors are long-standing and complex. But what if the solutions were simple? Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs sits down with housing advocates who aim to break down those barriers. Here's part one of that story.
But I don't have a house in my own hometown. That's what really gets to me as an Indigenous woman, you know.
At the Yellowknife Women's Society, a dozen women, mostly unhoused, speak their truth.
It's my coping mechanism, I think.
Important testimonies which will help inform work being done by the National Indigenous Women's Housing Network. Network Chair and Elder Marie McGregor Pitawatagwak listens attentively in the sharing circle.
One of the definitions of homelessness, according to Jessie Thistle, is that disconnection from kin, from clan, from community, from land. And so the dimensions of homelessness are manyfold rather than just being unhoused or unsheltered.
A common denominator? Everyone here has faced housing insecurity in their home communities. And when they relocate to Yellowknife, the challenges continue.
Moved to Yellowknife for employment, and then I left my children's father due to the abuse and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like back to square one, starting all over from scratch.
When a building wasn't locked, I go in there and I sleep.
I took a 2-year program, so knowing that I'm going to be out of town for those 2 long years, I gave up my place to my son and his family.
You cannot talk about homelessness without confronting the legacy of residential schools. According to the city's latest data on homelessness, 65% of individuals experiencing homelessness say their parents attended residential school, and 19% say they attended themselves.
The capacity right now is only 14 or 15 girls in the emergency every day or whatever. And like 2 nights ago, I had to walk around all night because there wasn't a bed available.
Go to the women's center, try to get support, and just to be there. But there's been a few times I get verbally attacked, mentally, verbally.
McGregor Pitawatagwak says it's important to recognize the resiliency of Indigenous women who are doing their best despite systemic barriers.
And for Indigenous women and children to be able to feel safe and cocooned and comforted and warm, you know, that is such a huge element to the safety and the opportunity to be able to be homed, to have a house, to be safe.
Once the group establishes the facts, it's time for conversation around solutions.
I have lots of certificates.
In part 2, we explore the importance of investment and agency for Indigenous women acquiring and maintaining permanent housing. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Saskatchewan's first proposed uranium mine in more than 25 years is making its case to federal regulators this week. Meanwhile, public hearings are underway in Saskatoon. CTV's Keenan Soro-Khan reports.
The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission is spending the week in Saskatoon to learn all it can about Denison Mine's proposed uranium mine at the southwestern edge of the Athabasca Basin in northern Saskatchewan.
It's a chance to get everyone together for the Commission to hear what it is that people are concerned about and be able to consider that in making their decision.
The quasi-judicial hearings present the final step for the Wheeler River project to receive federal approval and begin construction. And getting to this point has taken roughly 10 years of careful consideration, work, and meaningful consultation with local groups like English River First Nation.
Our history has been one that I liken to a arranged marriage, where our nation never really got a choice as to whether those uranium mines got built or not.
But that's not the case with Denison. Hunt says Denison had them along for every step of the way and earned a true partnership.
The English River First Nation has actually been consulted, and in this situation they have obtained our our free, prior, and informed consent.
From protecting land and treaty rights and eventually evolving talks all the way to education, employment, and investment into the community, Hunt says Denison has been an example of how industry can work with Indigenous people.
This is the beginning of a different kind of industry and First Nation relationship.
After the hearings, the Commission will take up to 4 months to come to its decision. If approved, Denison will create hundreds of jobs over 10 years of the mine's operations, with the goal of supplying clean power to millions of homes for generations to come.
It's often overlooked that resource development does not need to be at odds with climate change objectives, and this is a unique project that shows that we can do both of those things at the same time.
Keenan Sorakan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Santa recently traded his sleigh for a plane to visit remote Manitoba First Nations, delivering treats and joy to kids and seniors alike. CTV's Alex Karpa has that story.
Santa didn't need his sleigh to spread holiday cheer. Instead, he used a plane to travel to several Manitoba First Nations communities. I was able to hitch a ride on the Manitoba Kiwetinowi Okamakinak Santa Express, making stops in 4 remote and northern communities, which saw kids of all ages excited to see Santa in the flesh.
It's something different. It brings joy and brings laughter. It brings togetherness.
Merry Christmas! The Santa Express is visiting 25 communities in 5 days, delivering 12,000 treat bags filled with candy and toys.
Having Santa to just come into the community for the kids to see Santa, where in the south you can just see him every day, but over here just once in a while. So this is just extra special.
It's not just kids Santa went to see, but as well seniors at this care home in Bunnabonaby Cree Nation.
Merry Christmas!
This initiative started back in 2009 and is a partnership with Manitoba-based Perimeter Aviation. But this year's excursion is a little different than others. Santa's visits to communities here in northern Manitoba were especially meaningful this year, as thousands were forced out of their homes due to raging wildfires. Hundreds of fires this past summer in northern Manitoba forced over 30,000 people to evacuate, leaving many out of their homes for months on end.
Children are away from home, being absent from school, and I think this will do them good.
Seti says there's a ton of planning that goes into this yearly mission, but says it's all worth it, making sure every child can experience the Christmas magic, no matter where they live. Alex Karpa, CTV News, in northern Manitoba.
We now want to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you feel the court rulings will lead to real improvements in water access and housing for First Nations? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. Our 12 Days of Indigenous Languages is back right after these messages. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. St. John's showers into, Charlottetown 5. Anujuak -8, the Grand River -13 and sunny. Rain in Saguenay at -7, Quebec City flurries and -4. Clear skies in Toronto at -7, Sarnia at -4. Big Trout Lake -15, Thunder Bay -9. Puckatawagan -15, God's Lake -16. Clear skies in Winnipeg at -12, Dauphin -12. -20 in Saskatoon, -12 in Regina. Stony Rapids -25, sun's out in La Ronge at -22. Sunny in Fort McMurray at -24, high level -29. -20 in Red Deer, Medicine Hat -17. Campbell River 2, Bella Coola -3. -14 in Smithers and Prince George -14. Old Crow -19, Watson Lake -36. -34 in Wrigley, -31 in Fort Liard. -20 in Sax Harbor, in Fort McPherson it's -12. Baker Lake -23, Chesterfield -17. And -31 in Arctic Bay, Aglulik -23. Language revitalization was a big thing at APTN. This holiday season, APTN National News brings you our version of the 12 days of APTN workdays until the holidays. Here are some Squamish teachings from the West Coast.
No, Hatsgail Tanaya, Latihuia Daniels, a Huayquat Queen Sna, Tina Chantlas Hotmish Okomelch, Hatlins Golins Quins Quachnomia. My name is Latihuia Daniels and my ancestral name is Huayquat. The word I was thinking of was Merry Christmas, and in Hotmish Snachum we say Sat Sao Stalkum Squile. Sat Sao Stalkum Squile. So that is our version of saying Merry Christmas, and I really like saying it like that because of how we translate it. So Sat Sao means happy, Stalkum means rare, special, or supernatural. So it could also be the equivalent to sacred. And Squile means day, but it also can mean blue, sky, or daylight. Another word would be Ashen, which means to celebrate or feasting. Christmas memories for me is always going to my grandparents' house to spend time with my family. Feasting with my family, some great memories growing up as a child. We used to go to my grandparents' house, and my grandmother was Catholic, so she used to go to midnight mass. And I remember being a very young child and going to sleep. So I would be so tired that I would go to sleep, but because my grandmother would go to midnight mass, when they came home, so like 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning, they would wake us up, and then we would open our presents, but we would also eat food together.
It's now time for host Karen Pugliese to join us from Ottawa to tell us who she's talking to on tonight's brand new episode right after your evening newscast. Karen?
So tonight on Nation to Nation, we're going to catch up on child welfare reform. It has been a long fight. First Nations leaders and the Caring Society have been pushing Canada to end discrimination in the system for more than a decade. They've been through the courts and before the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal for years. And then, as you know, last year, Canada offered a deal they said would fix the system. Ontario chiefs took it. Chiefs outside Ontario rejected it. So now everything's moving in two directions. We'll update you on what's happening inside and outside Ontario. We'll talk about what that means for kids and for families. That's coming up tonight after the news.
Thank you, Karen. And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday, December 11th. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscasts in a few hours. Please join us then. Hi, miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.
Got it, guys on the truck.